In the silence of the night, the lights of a vast mansion were burning, but inside there was a room where the darkness felt more intense. In the middle of the room, a small child sat in a wheelchair. His name was Daniel. He was only 7 years old, but there was such sadness in his eyes as if he had carried the burden of centuries. Daniel's legs were completely weak. Doctors had said many times that this child would never be able to walk. His father, William, a famous American businessman, spent millions of dollars on the best hospitals and expert doctors, but each time he received only one answer: "There is very little hope for your son." William was busy with business day and night. His wife had left him years ago. For him, this mansion was full of wealth, but his son's weak legs were breaking it from the inside. He had come to believe that perhaps fate had deprived his only heir of the right to walk. But a new story was about to begin in this mansion. The next morning, a new maid arrived, Maria. Simple clothes, serious face, but a strange softness in her eyes. The other servants would just nod their heads when they saw her, but Daniel fixed his gaze on someone for the first time. She seemed different to him. In the afternoon, when Daniel was sitting on the lawn in his wheelchair watching the birds, Maria approached him. She said softly, "These birds are free. And you? Why are you imprisoned inside?" Daniel smiled sarcastically. "I can't walk. My legs have created the prison." Maria leaned down, looking into his eyes. "Have you ever thought that imprisonment is not only of the body? It is also of the heart?" Daniel was shocked. This was the first time anyone had spoken to him like this. Maria Rose began to tell him stories. Sometimes of the brave, sometimes of those who got up again even after losing. Slowly, a glimmer of hope began to appear in Daniel's eyes. One day Maria said softly, "Starting tomorrow we will play a game. You are afraid of falling, right? So we will make falling part of the victory. The more you fall, the more you move forward." Daniel looked at her in surprise. "But what if I fall?" Maria smiled. "Then I will fall with you." At that moment, William, standing far away, was listening to everything. A strange anxiety arose in his heart. Could this woman really do something that doctors and money could not? William stayed awake all night. His son's voice kept ringing in his ears. "What if I fall?" And Maria's answer, "Then I will fall with you." He did not know that the coming tomorrow would change his son's fate. In the morning, Daniel was sitting in his wheelchair, looking out the window as usual. The sunlight was shining on his frail face, but there was still the same sadness in his eyes. But today was different. Maria had decided to keep her promise. She slowly came down the stairs, a small wooden box in her hand. Daniel looked at him curiously. "What is this?" she asked in a weak voice. Maria smiled. "This is our new game. Has small challenges. Every day we will take a new step. And remember, a step, no matter how small, is a sign of progress." Daniel laughed, but immediately hid her smile. "What if I lose?" Maria knelt down in front of him. "Only those who give up try lose. If you try, you will never lose." These words pierced Daniel's heart like an arrow. The same child who had always lived in fear, for the first time began to think that perhaps victory could be achieved even after falling. In the afternoon, a moment came on the lawn that was nothing short of a miracle. Maria stopped the wheels of the wheelchair and said softly, "Today we will touch the ground. Your legs may be weak, but if you feel the ground, you will feel alive." Daniel, trembling, placed his feet on the grass. His body was shaking. Beads of sweat appeared on his forehead. "I will fall," he said in horror. Maria immediately held his hands. "You have to learn to fall, Daniel. If you fall today, tomorrow you will have more strength to get up." Daniel, trembling, pressed his feet to the ground for a moment. The moisture of the grass touched his heart. He was about to scream when Maria said softly, "You are standing, Daniel. Look, you are standing." Time stood still for a few seconds. Daniel's eyes widened in surprise. He stood there trembling. He looked at Maria as if he couldn't believe it. Suddenly, there was a sound of applause from behind. William was standing there watching everything. His face was filled with both surprise and joy. But at the same time, there was a question in his eyes. Was this woman really going to be a miracle for his son? Maria looked at William and said, "Sir, this is your son. He is just asking for support. More than medicine or doctors. If you believe in him, one day he will run around the house on his own 2 feet." A storm raged in William's heart. For the first time in years, he felt that perhaps fate could change. At night, when all the servants had gone to their rooms, William was sitting alone in his room. His son's trembling existence was appearing before his eyes again and again. He was wondering why he had always considered his son weak. Why did he consider money a cure, but never valued love? Looking out the window, a soft phrase escaped his lips. Maybe miracles are not bought, they are made. At that moment, he heard a soft laugh from his son's room. He went to the door, peeked in. Maria was telling Daniel a story, and Daniel was laughing. That laugh was the greatest treasure in the world for William. And he knew that from the next day on, nothing would be the same. The next morning, Daniel opened his eyes and felt something different. The light outside the window was the same as before, but the darkness inside his heart had diminished a little. Sitting in his wheelchair, he was waiting for the sound of Maria's footsteps. This was the same woman who had first made him realize that maybe he could do something like other children. When Maria arrived, she had a small device in her hand, a wooden stick with a beautiful ribbon tied to it. Daniel asked in surprise, "What is this?" Maria smiled. "This is your first gift. This stick is not your enemy, it is your strength. Today we will use it as a weapon." Daniel held the stick with trembling hands. "What if it breaks?" Maria leaned forward and said, "Then we will make a new one. But remember, your courage must never break." The two of them slowly started walking on the lawn. Maria stayed close each time, as if walking with him like a shadow. Daniel's steps would stagger. Sometimes he would almost touch the ground, but Maria would hold him. Suddenly William was there. His eyes were filled with surprise and suspicion. "What is all this happening?" he asked in a stern tone. Daniel backed away in fear, but Maria said courageously, "Sir, your son is learning to walk." William's forehead furrowed. "Are you crazy? The doctors have said it's impossible. This child will fall, get injured. You're causing him more pain." Maria closed her eyes for a moment, then said, "Sir, sometimes miracles come not from money but from faith. If you have already accepted him as a loser, then this child will never win." Evening was falling. Golden light was scattered across the lawn of the mansion. Daniel's steps were now a little stronger than before. He would walk a few steps with the help of a cane, and every time Maria's eyes sparkled with pride and joy. But the rest of the mansion's servants looked at all this with suspicion. At night, when all the servants were sitting in the kitchen talking, the old cook whispered, "This new woman. There's something about her. In 2 months, she did what even the great doctors couldn't do. It might not be magic." Another servant said, "Yes, and she's also making room in your heart. If this continues, we'll all lose our status." His words accidentally reached William's ears. He stood listening in silence, but inside he was torn apart. There was both gratitude and doubt in his heart. The next day, William called Maria alone. His tone was harsh. "Tell me the truth, who are you? What is your real story? No ordinary woman can perform such a miracle." Maria was silent for a few moments. Then she spoke softly. "Sir, I am not a witch. I am just a mother. A mother who lost her child." William was shocked. "What do you mean?" Tears started to flow from Maria's eyes. "My son's legs were also weak. I supported him, stood by him every day, but he left this world in an accident. From that day on, I promised that if I ever found a child like him, I would give him the life that my son did not have." Hearing this, William's heart trembled. For the first time, he saw in Maria's eyes the sorrow that no one but a mother can feel. But at that moment Daniel came in, walking with a cane. His eyes sparkled. "Dad, look. I walked 5 steps today." William looked at his son with surprise and joy. But then an unknown thought gripped his heart. What if all this was just the result of Maria's emotional magic? What if Daniel had fallen or become weak again? That same night, William secretly called the city's famous doctor to find out the truth. The doctor looked at Daniel and was shocked. "This child. He is on the way to recovery. From what I see, it seems impossible. But this is the reality." William asked helplessly. "Is it all because of Maria?" The doctor took a deep breath. "Sir, sometimes the cure is not with medicine. It is with the heart. Your son needed love, not medicine. And he has found it." Hearing this, William's heart began to break. He was thinking that maybe Maria was not just a maid, but the key to his son's new life. But at that moment, a black car stopped outside the mansion. A woman got out of the car, William's ex-wife, who had left their son years ago. Her footsteps fell silent in the house. Daniel saw his mother for the first time. But instead of joy, her eyes held questions. The sound of a black car stopping echoed throughout the mansion. The door opened and an attractive but stern-faced woman entered. It was Emily, William's ex-wife and Daniel's mother. The woman who had abandoned her son years ago in pursuit of wealth and luxury. Daniel saw her with his own eyes for the first time. His heart pounded. "Is this my mother?" he said hesitantly. Emily stepped forward, but Maria immediately stood in front of Daniel as if she were protecting him. William's anger was uncontrollable. "What are you doing here? How dare you come back?" Emily said with a cold smile. "William, I have come to admit my mistakes. This is my son. And I need him." Tears welled up in Daniel's eyes. He held Maria's hand. "I have never seen Mother. Now she is my mother." These words struck Emily in the heart with anger. She said sharply, "This woman is just a maid. Are you happy to hand over your son to a maid?" Maria's eyes were moist but her tone was calm. "I can't be a mother, but I have conquered the fear inside her. This child was broken after you left. I have put him back together." William shouted. "That's it. Emily, you lost your right when you left this house. Today you are only opening up the wound by coming back." Emily looked at William with contempt, then came closer to Daniel and knelt down. "Son, I admit that I left you. But I have changed. Give me another chance." There was a conflict in Daniel's innocent eyes. He was longing for his mother's touch, but his heart was connected to Maria. "Why did you leave?" she asked with a broken heart. Emily's eyes were filled with shame. "I was weak. I was blinded by wealth. But now I only want to be with you." At that moment the whole room was silent. William was staring at Emily sternly. Maria was holding back tears, and a storm was brewing in Daniel's heart. Suddenly, Daniel let go of the cane and took a shaky step forward. His whole body was shaking, but he was taking one step towards his mother. William and Maria's hearts stopped. Emily spread her hands. Daniel said tremblingly, "If you are really my mother, prove to me that you will never leave me alone again." That moment was decisive for everyone. Tears began to flow from Emily's eyes. She said in a trembling voice, "I promise. I will never leave again." Daniel hugged her, but Maria's heart was broken. After years of solitude, this child, whom he called his mother, was now returning to his real mother. But Maria had no idea that this return was the beginning of a great storm. The atmosphere of the mansion had changed. Emily's return had shaken everything. Daniel was happy with his mother's touch, but Maria's face seemed to fade day by day. She knew that Emily's return was not the result of a coincidence, but rather a secret behind it. One night, when everyone was asleep, Maria heard a soft moan in the lobby. She followed with squelched footsteps. Emily was talking to someone on the phone. Her voice low but dangerous. "Yes, William is weak now. He is blinded by his son's love. I just need to regain possession of this mansion. When Daniel is completely familiar with me, everything else will be easy. Maria's feet seemed to sink into the ground. Tears and anger both fell into her eyes. This woman is using her own son only for wealth. The next morning at the breakfast table, William saw his family together for the first time in years. Daniel was sitting with his mother, laughing, and Maria stood quietly in a corner. William was grateful, but he could not understand Maria's sadness. Daniel said innocently, "Dad, Mommy says that if I stay with her, she will give me the best treatment. Can I go with Mommy?" William's hands trembled. He looked at his wife. Emily smiled, but that smile was like poison to Maria. Maria plucked up courage and said, "Sir, think carefully and decide. This woman, she did not come for your son. She only came to get her old wealth back." Emily immediately flared up. "Nonsense. This maid is saying everything for her own sake. William, haven't you seen? My son is happier after I came. This woman only wants to control him for her own benefit." Daniel was worried when he saw the two of them. The burden on his innocent heart began to grow. "Stop it. I don't know who is telling the truth. But I know this much, that when I was afraid of falling, Maria held my hand. And today when I smile, she is sad." This sentence fell on everyone like lightning. William looked at Maria, but Emily's words were also echoing in his mind. At that moment the door opened loudly. An old servant came running and gasped, "Sir, I have to tell you the truth." William asked in shock, "What truth?" The servant said in a trembling voice, "Madam, Emily has never changed. I saw her with my own eyes last night meeting a stranger. She was talking about selling this mansion." The room fell silent. Tears welled up in Daniel's eyes. He said in a trembling voice, "Mummy, is it true?" Emily's face revealed everything for a moment, but she quickly said, "It's all a conspiracy. I'm being defamed." But now suspicion had also taken root in William's heart. For the first time he said in a stern tone, "Emily, no more games. If you don't tell the truth, this house won't be yours tomorrow morning." Daniel came trembling to Maria, took her hand and said, "If it was all a lie, I'll be abandoned again, won't I?" Maria hugged him and said, "No, son, no one will leave you alone now. I'm with you." The darkness of night had fallen on the mansion. Every room was silent, but a storm was raging in Daniel's heart. The fight between his mother and Maria, the confusion of his father, and the fear of his future, all of these had become a burden on his little heart. He slowly got up from his wheelchair, grabbed his cane, and walked step by step to the lawn. The moonlight was spreading. He looked up at the sky and said with tears, "Oh God, tell me who is my home, who is my mother, who will never leave me." At that moment, two voices came from behind. One was Maria's, the other Emily's. The two of them walked forward together. William also came. The atmosphere became heavy. William said sternly, "That's it. Today the truth will come out. Emily, if you have really changed, tell me, who were you dating? What was all this fun for?" Emily's face turned pale. She hesitated for a moment, then shouted, "Yes, came for wealth. I have the right to this mansion, and Daniel is my key." Hearing this, Daniel's steps staggered. His innocent heart was wounded as if the whole world had broken. He shouted, "So you are not a mother. You are just greed." Emily moved forward, but William stopped her hands. Tears were in her eyes. "Emily, I lost you once. Not again. You can go. Forever." Emily looked at the threshold of the house with anger and helplessness and shouted, "You will all regret it." Then she disappeared into the darkness. Silence fell in the room. Daniel's tears were flowing. He was about to fall to the ground when Maria ran up and caught him. "I told you. I won't let you fall." Daniel hugged Maria and cried, You are my mother, because you never left me alone. William's tears flowed. He stepped forward, taking both his son and Maria in his arms. I ran after wealth and ignored you both. But today I understand. The real wealth is that my son can stand on his own feet. And that was possible because of this woman, whom I considered just a maid. At that moment, Daniel took Maria's hand and walked forward with shaky steps. 1, 2, 3, he took 5 steps. There was a smile on his lips, and faith in his eyes. Dad, look. I'm not falling. I'm walking, William said in a trembling voice. Yes, son, you're not just walking. You've changed our lives. Tears of joy began to flow from Maria's eyes. William looked at her and said, Maria, from today you are not a maid. You are part of our family. The atmosphere of the mansion changed. After the darkness, a new light spread. Daniel was no longer just a disabled child, but had become a living example of hope and courage. And with him was a woman, who was fulfilling her right to be a mother with all her heart. The story ended. But the message remained. Love and faith are the power that can make any miracle possible.